Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hi, Kyle. Very good, thank you. Yourself?
I'm well. It's a pleasure to talk to you, especially
Good.
as we celebrate the anniversary of, I guess, where it all began for you, right?
Yeah, it was the first album that I made, or that we made, any of us in the band. It was our first record, and yeah, it was fun to make, and it's been fun and interesting to put this package together of the various, demos and outtakes and so on.
Well, when you look back at it, does it reveal anything new to you now that you might not have caught while you're in it?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting listening to us in the studio, between takes, chatting away, and you can sense how much we were enjoying the process, of relishing the fact that we were in a recording studio for the first time, and making the most of it. And there's such a very nice warm spirit there was in the making of the record. It was a kind of beginning of a sort of musical adventure for us, and we were trying out all kinds of things, stylistically, different kinds of way to take the music, and I guess collaging it all together, which is one of the features of this first album, that it has lots of different directions that it's pointing in.
That's the guts of youth right there. That's
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we weren't kind of hardened pros at that point.
And a few years later, we do get punk rock, and a lot of those bands had used you guys as an influence.
Yeah.
When that happened, did you recognize yourself in those bands?
A little bit, yeah, in the sort of wild abandon of some of the music that was made I guess it was around 76 or 7, and at that point I was spending a lot of time in Los Angeles. I was preparing an album, a solo album I did that time called The Bride Stripped Bare, and stylistically I'd moved on from that kind of style of music in a way. So it was interesting to hear the punk explosion later on, but it did remind me of the early stuff, which it was only 4 years earlier, but it seemed a generation in a way.
Yeah, how many things can change in just a few years when
yes,
everybody's creating like that?
Yeah.
There's some lines in there I look at now, like there's the famous time that you quoted Bogart with the "Here's looking at you, kid," and I thought,
oh yeah,
40 years later, how different meanings that can take on as the years have passed, and if there is something
right.
sort of assumes the older character towards the end, I'd kind of be curious, like how close did you get it?
Yeah, quite close. I mean, I still enjoy doing those songs today. So I guess a lot of water's gone under the bridge since then, but I still enjoy performing the early songs with the band I have now, and we try and sometimes we do them very close to the original stylistically, and I guess some of the younger players in the band bring their personality to play in the song, and I'm looking at it from an older perspective, and it's interesting, doing that material today, and nothing changes that much.
I know. At one point, though, you did re-record a lot of those because you weren't quite happy with the mix. Have you sort of made up with that?
I think what happened, I did a cover of a song called "Let's Stick Together," which was an old song that was on the Sue label by a guy called Wilbert Harrison, and it was a good song, and we did a good version of it, and the record company suddenly said, "Oh, this single is a hit. You must give us an album to go with it." So I thought, well, I'd love to do some other versions of the songs from the first and second album, I think it was, and so I did. And it's interesting, taking another look at a song that you've already recorded in the past and trying to do it in a different way. And to me it seems quite normal to do it, because I was a big jazz fan from an early age, and my jazz heroes like Charlie Parker or Lester Young or whoever would do the same song many different times throughout their career, and it's quite good to see how people how their work changes throughout their career. And in rock and roll, usually people just do one recording of the song and that's it. But it's quite interesting to go back and do it again. Sometimes you can do it, acoustically or with an orchestra or whatever. But there are many different ways to do a tune. Yeah, it's been interesting for me to have that kind of sideline, as it were, as a singer, to embrace other people's songs. And it adds another dimension, I think, to the work that I do. Although my main career, I guess, is with doing my own songs, and some of the best ones were done in the band, in Roxy Music.
Well, and with every anniversary, someone inevitably asks if you have a desire to play with those people again. So I guess I'm that person right now.
I always think it would be nice to do some more work with Brian Eno in particular, because we only did 2 albums together, and so we kind of we stopped on a very high note, as it were, because the second album of Roxy, For Your Pleasure, was one of my favorite ones, and we have worked together in the years in between, but I'd like to do some more stuff with him again at some point, because he's such an interesting character and such fun to work with too.
Yeah. What does that entail? Just picking up the phone, making the schedules work?
It's sort of finding a window of opportunity for both of us. Because I think we both are kind of always very busy doing stuff, and I'm like touring a lot. And but I have a studio in London here where I'm speaking from, and so I'm always working on things as well here. So maybe one day it'll happen.
Yeah. And what is next? Because the last solo album was 2014?
Yeah. Well, I'm just kind of experimenting with a few things at the moment. Today we've been rehearsing for a show I'm doing in Switzerland soon, which is like an acoustic show, which is a new thing for me. I'm doing it in an art museum in Basel. So that's going to be a kind of a one-off show, which needs some preparation. So we're working on that at the minute.
Any insight into what the experimentations might be? That what's got your ear, your eye right now?
Well, I always think it spoils it, really, if you talk about what you're planning to do. It's best to kind of, pretty much have something ready. But next time we speak about it, I hope I'll have something new to offer.
All right, I'll take that. Yeah. I sort of wondered, and not to get too dark here towards the end, but, folks like you and Bowie, you were contemporaries. And we're finding some of those folks as passing on these days. Does it feel really different, more personal for you than it does for all of us when someone from your early class leaves us?
Well, yeah, it's obviously it's a sharp reminder of how we're just passing through. It makes you really kind of anxious to make the most of your time, and to be as productive as you can be, and to be the best person you can be, and so on. And one's eye is drawn to the obituary pages when you pick up the newspaper, and it's quite shocking sometimes to read about people who you've known, and some people who you've worked with, especially. It's very sad when you read about that. But yeah, I'm sort of I'm carrying on trying to do as much work as I can, for as long as I can. Yeah, my poor old dog Bobby died last week, which is very sad, and that's been a bit of a blow, because I had a border terrier called Bobby, who's a beautiful dog, with me for 17 years, and so he had a very good innings and had a pretty good life, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It's interesting you're in Louisville, because I've never been there. I'd love to go there, because it'd be great to see the Derby one day, which I think you have there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots to do, so anytime you want to come, just give us a call.
Yeah. Yes.
It was a real pleasure talking to you, Brian. I appreciate it,
Thank
and
you very
I
much.
look forward to whatever comes next.
Yeah, fantastic. I hope we can get to play at your down your way soon as well. Thanks, Kyle, very much.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.